I typed Joe and Rogan into Google and found this article from Newsweek, which asks, is Joe Rogan losing his mojo? I'm going to answer no. But they say Spotify charts show that Rogan's podcast dropped from its usual top position to second place in January, overtaken by the Sean Ryan Show. It fell again to third place in February behind Fall of Civilizations and the Midas Touch podcast, before reclaiming second place this time to Amy Poehler's new show, Good Hang. Okay, let me explain podcast charts to you. I'll start with the Apple podcast charts because I'm more familiar with how they work. There's a recency bias based upon how many people have subscribed recently. So, for example, if you can get 2,000 of your friends to suddenly subscribe on this podcast in the next hour, I will have the number one podcast in the country for at least a short while. Now, as you guys accelerate me to number one, what will happen is other people will go, what's this? And hit subscribe or follow on Apple Podcasts is the nomenclature. And then my podcast will stay high up in the charts for a bit. And hopefully a bunch of people stick around. And then suddenly I'll have a top 200 podcast. That's how that works. So sometimes if you look at the charts at like weird times, like go on at like Sunday morning at like 7 a.m. and you'll see something random at number one. And people know how the system works and they'll game it. And people will get a flurry of subscribers. And some people are known to pay people to hit subscribe. So I think with the charts, you kind of have to look long term, and Rogan's always there at the top. So the recency bias is part of it. There's total downloads, how much of an episode people consume, all that goes into it. But the big factor is recent downloads. Anybody in the industry will tell you that Joe Rogan is number one by a lot. It's not close. I'm not saying if you don't look at the charts, like I'll look right now as I record this on Friday. So right now, Apple has it, Poehler, Mel Robbins, Rogan. And I'm not saying Poehler's not super popular. I am not saying Mel Robbins is super popular. What I am saying is, no, Joe Rogan hasn't lost his mojo. The Spotify charts, I don't know exactly how they work. I assume they're similar, but also understand, despite what you read, most podcasts, audio podcasts, are consumed on Apple Podcasts, and Spotify is number 2. And the Spotify charts can be a little wonky, and Spotify tends to promote their own things. For example, Amy Poehler's For the Ringer, which is owned by Spotify. Again, not saying Amy Poehler's not good. Not saying Amy Poehler's not number one on the Apple Podcasts, which Spotify does not own or control. But, that kind of thing factors into it. So don't oversteer it to the charts. Joe Rogan had 51.5 million downloads in February. Now, let me walk you through some numbers. In podcasting, a live read, a host read, you hear me do those sometimes for the gambling website, is sold on a CPM model. Let's do lazy math. Say you get $20 for CPM. These days you'll get more like $23, $24. If somebody wants to be in a premium environment, they'll get more. But let's do lazy math. So a $20 CPM means if I want to reach 1,000 listeners, an ad would cost me $20, okay? So by my count, Rogan had 16 episodes drop in February, and will accept the 51.5 million downloads number, and will accept my made-up $20 CPM. 51.5 million downloads across 16 episodes means 3.2 million people downloading each episode. At a $20 CPM, that would mean each live read is $64,000. If he runs 3 per episode, that would be $193,000 per episode. And if you do that 16 times, just in commercials, the show would gross $3 million. Now we do that 12 months a year. That's $36 million a year. And I'm going to guess the numbers are higher because Joe Rogan was reportedly paid $100 million. So my CPMs may be low. There may be more than 3 commercials per hour. I haven't listened. But just to give you a sense of, is Joe Rogan struggling? No. Matt Rife is going to be on the Discovery Channel's Ghost Adventures. Yeah. Wednesday, 10 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, we'll have to pick between Ghost Adventures or Mulaney. Which will you pick? The Ghost Adventures crew head to Nevada to investigate the recently shuttered Whiskey Pete's Hotel and Casino, a sprawling historic property marked by murder, mystery, and unexplained activity, and is believed to be haunted by the notorious bootlegger for which it's named Whiskey Pete. Joined by special guest investigator, comedian, and paranormal aficionado Matt Rife, the team is immediately affected by the dark energy and ominous activity within the building. Sounds scary. Sheng Wang was on Connecticut Public Broadcasting's Where We Live podcast. They were curious how important it is to have friends like Ali Wong to go through the journey of comedy. Sheng said, I think it's tough for immigrant kids to be doing stuff like this. I mean, it might be a little different now, But I think pursuing a craft like this can be full of potholes and doubts and bumps in the road, you know? So when we have friends to do it together with, it makes all the difference. You know, a little community, it really helps a lot. It's kind of the whole reason you do it, because at the beginning it all seems like, what's the point? You know, you're just doing open mics at random places, from like empty rooms to laundromats, wherever you could put a microphone and a speaker. The whole way, there's always moments where you're going to doubt yourself. That Jay Leno interview he gave to Graham Benzinger continues to pay off if you're trying to fill your script for your daily comedy news podcast. Jay did not deny which joke got under his skin. It is the one in Conan's final Tonight Show monologue when Conan said, much funnier than I will tell it, "I just want to say to the kids out there watching, you can do anything you want in life unless Jay Leno wants to do it too." That's a great joke. I mentioned yesterday trying to get a feel for, is Jay Leno a bad guy, good guy? I think he's a good guy. I explained it yesterday, Conan thing aside. A little more, this is from a different interview where Jay talking about his wife Mavis. Mavis has Alzheimer's disease. Jay says, "I just try to get home every night. That's the only difference. The plane waits and I come right back. I used to stay out 3 or 4 days. I just stay out 1 day now, 2 days most. I enjoy it. I like taking care of my wife. I don't mind it. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's okay. It's not like she's in any pain, screaming or anything. She smiles and I can see when she's pleased with something. You know, it is what it is. I'm glad it didn't happen when we were 40. You have 40 good years and you have 5 kind of tricky ones. That's okay. Do I wish it never happened? Of course. You've got to find the humor in it. It's like a test I'm glad I passed. I'm very comfortable with it." Jay has kept up his tradition of making Mavis dinner and then they watch TV together, although he says Mavis is almost totally bedridden and she can't remember what happened from one episode to the next. Jay says it's really the same thing. You just can't have a discussion or talk about things. "Somehow, I've become the patriarch of the family. He pays $11,000 a month each for a brother-in-law and an uncle in nursing facilities. Those are real numbers. I had my mom in one and not by choice." You know, that's something I would have never thought that I would have ever done. And, you know, life throws you a curve and you wind up doing that. But yeah, it was $12,000 a month for us. Jay says, "There's a lot of people affected by this. Technically, I don't have to go out on the road, but to keep a sense of normalcy, he does." Leno says a nurse comes in twice a week to check her vitals and a dentist has regular house calls to clean her teeth. Jay says, "I don't know how people who are school teachers or policemen or nurses who have regular jobs do it. I'm glad I have the position I'm in, so my lifestyle doesn't change dramatically. I don't have to get a reverse mortgage or anything like that." As for his recent incidents, you know, there's the motorcycle accident and falling down a hill, whatever that was. Jay says, that's a great thing about being over 40. Once a man goes over 40, you can't teach him anything. You never learn by your mistakes.